Thanks for joining me, everybody. All your comments already. Gina and Katie. Oh, Lisa. Must be getting warm down there in Pahrump now, Lisa. Oh, Deborah's on. All right. Okay. I was talking to Deborah a few minutes ago. I said, I gotta go. It's almost time for the live chat. I gotta get the program here. Get ready. Yeah, it's that time again. So I got a few exciting. Oh, hello, Tom and Daniel, Candy, Sandy, Joan. Hello, Lynn. So I got a few exciting topics tonight, like being fenced out and hot and remodeling and a few other little details. So we got street tacos and Freedom Tribe. Yeah, I didn't. I held off on doing the lives for a while because we were doing it on two Meander already, anyways. But it's just a little. It's technically possible to do them remotely and patch in, but it's the bandwidth requirements are a little intimidating for nomads, and the software doesn't come cheap either to get it all done and everything. So we're decided to forego that. So I decided I started my own. Got a noisy truck out there somewhere. That's, oh, Stephen, hello. Yeah, so I'll get into the topics in a few minutes here, so give everybody a chance to get logged on. Oh, yeah, Coach Heber from Costa Rica, cool. Yes, Deborah, you don't need to stop at animal places. You'd be too tempted. uh, you'd find too many critters you just wanted to hang out, bring home. Oh, good. The directional mic helps with some of that background noise, but I'm never sure what might show up. Oh, well, thanks for hopping on for a minute, and Freedom Tribe. Oh, Gina, I'm glad you're enjoying the book. That's, I've had a lot of really nice feedback on that book, and that's really nice. It's it's always a little bit intimidating for anybody that it's bad enough doing smaller stuff like a blog post or even a video, which might take hours, but like a book you work on for so long, you just really hope it's people find value in it when you go ahead and release it because it's such a big project. So. And Noreen's look good sitting in the van. Yeah, that is nice to be able to do this now, and I got a few different angles I can use. But I'm able right here to set the camera on the desk, and so it's nice. I don't have to get the whole big tripod out. I'm tripping over it and everything, so that's kind of nice. And it's handy too when it's easier to control lighting for shadows and stuff, and it's also easier to control for wind and other background noise and stuff. So it's kind of handy. Well, Debbie in the Blue Ridge Mountains, very nice. We tried to go up the Blue Ridge Parkway last spring on our trip up north from Texas, and we went through Tennessee and stopped in Tennessee to see Deborah's friend, longtime friend, and we thought, heck, we'll just drop down into what was it, South Carolina? I don't know. We dropped down anyways, like an hour or two, till we get on the Blue Ridge Parkway. We stopped at the visitor center, and there were no warning, and so we drive and drive and drive, and we find all of a sudden the roads closed because apparently there were some sections that weren't open yet for the spring. Uh, but it wasn't like a sign at the start of it saying the road's closed ahead, and you have to like backtrack all the way back to where you started, and then so we lost like better than half a day of travel time with that little adventure. But yeah, my Espanol is very limited. I I can read a little more than I can say or well, I can't say any of it with my Yankee accent, but oh, I have got to get over to see little Luna Beth this week. I have not seen her since I've been back. I thought she was going to be at birthday party for my other granddaughter, the one who just turned 5, on Sunday, but her mom was a little worried about flu season still be going around up here in Wyoming, so she was trying to avoid bringing around a bunch of other kids just in case. And so I had to get over and see her this week. Oh, hello up in Washington. Christy, thanks. Glad you appreciate enjoying the book. Oh, and Linda, hello. All right, so I'll get into my things I put on my title here. Um, about being fenced out of my parking spot. Oh, hi Kay. Um, so I'm at my son's house when I came back from Montana. I've been staying at my son's house for I think about a week now, a little over a week, something like that. Anyways, since I got back from Montana, so maybe it's not quite a week yet even. So so he's got this. They live on a cul-de-sac, so there's like no parking on the street. All they have is their driveway and the garage. And when they bought the house, there's like a little driveway in the back with a shed, and it's accessed by through a storage unit and storage parking lot place behind their house, and several of the houses along in a row here have vehicles and stuff. They have big driveways in the back and vehicles parked in back and stuff. Well, yesterday or the day before, um, there's a guy out there digging a hole. So Stephanie goes out, my daughter-in-law goes out and talks to him. But it turns out the storage people are putting in a fence and fencing off the entire property, and they didn't even bother telling any of the homeowners in the neighborhood who have vehicles parked out back and have been using that for parking for years and years since these houses have been here, and they didn't tell them. They just were putting a fence in, and there would be no way to get these vehicles. Houses are also tight in the front that because of the cul-de-sac, that there'd be no way that anybody could get those vehicles out of there. So I don't know what would happen with that, but we found out because of that. So I couldn't not going to be able to park back there anymore. So we had to today we had this whole thing of shuffling around a bunch of vehicles because my daughter-in-law and son have a couple vehicles, and there's a couple. Well, they have 3 Gambler 500 vehicles here right now. 2 are my son, are my one son that owns this house, and then not my other son, my youngest has one, and it's here right now too. And of course, I got 2 vehicles here right now. So we, we were shuffling, trying to get stuff into the garage, and on a motorcycle, so get stuff in the garage and stack stuff up 3 wide in the driveway and 2 deep. So the little car is like behind the van, kind of hanging out in the street a little bit. And but everybody does that here because of the cul-de-sac anyway. But so it's kind of a challenge. That was the so it was a little bit of a shock. Like, what? So I was already, I mean, I wasn't planning on staying here long term anyway, but in the city, but I was planning on being here through the weekend anyway. So now I'm in the driveway, so I got to be even more discreet. Yeah, the auto dealership. Yeah, that's what it looks like, boys. I've seen some small car lots with less vehicles. uh, but it was, anyways. They used it for storage back there, and actually they got a trailer back there. They actually are a customer of this place too, which made it even worse. They didn't tell them because they rent storage space back there for a car trailer that they use to haul the gambler cars. Um, anyway, it's yeah, it was a bit of an adventure. So, so I'm missing out on comments here. So oh, Julie, welcome. I appreciate the subscribing. Street Tackle is actually where I'm headed to next. I'll come right back to that. And yeah, that is the same guy, Deborah, and he apparently does not have a good reputation in the neighborhood amongst anybody that's ever had to deal with him. Um, that's all I'll say there. I won't repeat exactly what the neighbors are saying about him, but right, Linda, exactly. Yeah, with the teenagers. And that's when I got the 4 kids here, but 2 of them are in rentals. So the 2 that have their own houses host a fair number of get-togethers. My daughter, when she does something, she's on a normal street, so there's not quite a bit of parking, and there's a Veteran Affairs office across the street from her that's closed nights and weekends, so people can park over there, at that time frame for things. But when they have stuff here at this house, I mean, it's always kind of a challenge because there just isn't enough parking with a bunch of people come over. So we used to use the back for that too. 'Cause we'd have overflow out in the back. Oh, this is my shirt picture. This is actually a Gambler 500 shirt. Oh, yeah, oh, there you go. So the final Frontier logo. My son gave it to me after I gave him some two Meander stickers that went on their Gambler cars. So I got another one on the van now too, a little Gambler sticker. I'll have to post on social media or something. I sent it to Deborah and showed her, so they have team names for the because they have several vehicles going. So and so that's they got stickers done for that. So oh, hello Rick. Let's see. Oh, what are my plans for next? Yeah, I'm probably gonna stay here through about right a Harley. That would be good. My son's got a Harley in the garage. I actually had to move it earlier. My daughter-in-law was like, "Oh, I'll let you move it because it's too heavy for me and I can't reach the ground. I'm too short. And if I drop it, he'll probably want to divorce me. But if you drop it, he'll be like, oh, it's okay. It was only Pops. We'll forgive him." So I will probably try and go to that this year again if I'm able to, and I definitely will film it if I go. That should be fun. That was a blast last year. So and I was riding along with my son and he's got a new one. He had the Eagle last year, the old AMC Eagle, and he still got that, but that's not his main one now. Now he's got a Jeep, was the Comanche, the pickup truck that he's got all decorated up and everything, and it looks pretty cool. But I was riding along the Eagle and we're going all these crazy places, off road and stuff, and places you shouldn't take normal vehicles or any vehicle probably, and I got a couple times. I'm like, this is a lot like what Deborah and I do. We're just a little bit more careful. uh, oh, there you go. Stephanie said her legs are too short. She can't get to the ground. Her feet are like. But I got it moved anyways. That thing is heavy, man. Yeah, he does some good stuff. He did a good job with that new design too. He's give me a run for my money on Photoshop. Okay, so what am I doing next? Yeah, so I'm planning on my tentative plan because I'm a nomad, so everything's in Jello, right? But my tentative plan is to kind of probably be here through the weekend, helping them out with some projects and things, which I'll actually is a topic coming up, and actually leads into that. So we'll cover that topic. So the reason I came back here on Friday last week, just got a tip to PayPal from Joan. Thank you, Joan. Appreciate that. So I came back on Friday. My son, before I left to go to Montana, he's like, "So I'm going to be doing some remodeling project in the bedroom. You help me out with it because he doesn't. He's pretty talented, but doesn't have a lot of experience with drywall and taping and stuff. So he wanted some help from the old man. So I said, sure, no problem. He didn't know when he was doing it. I checked in with him when I was on the trip. He didn't know when he was going to do it. So Wednesday night or Thursday, or Wednesday night, I guess, he decided he was going to get started on it. So Thursday, he tore all the carpet out and the flooring and took out a wall for a closet. They're remodeling it. So anyways, Friday, I got a call from him as I'm coming through Buffalo because I just come over the mountains where there's no phone service for quite a while. And I get into Buffalo, Wyoming, and he's like, "I was trying to call you earlier, but when are you going to be back? I'm busy working in that room, and I'm got most of it framed in now." So anyway, we built a closet and we putting down laminate flooring and carpet in the sleeping area, and putting a shelf and all kinds of stuff. So we're working on a project as we have time because I work a ridiculous number of hours every week, and he works a ridiculous number of hours every week, and so Stephanie's doing a good job with some of the drywall. Oops, hold on, let me turn my dinger off on my phone here. I'm making a lot. Here we go. But the laptop's sitting there and it's dinging away with messages coming in. So one of those cool things with Mac is I can send and receive messages and phone calls and everything, or FaceTime on the computer or on the iPhone. So it's kind of But anyways, so we're working on that project, remodeling that. So that's why I'm here right now, helping out with that. And so I'm figuring out to stay through the weekend to try and help get through some more of that project, and then I may take off for yes, That's it, Deborah. So I may take off and go get out of here for a little bit. I got about one big family event per month um, in Gillette. And, thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. So I got about one family event a month in Gillette this summer. And the next big one coming up is, well, I don't know if anybody doing anything for Memorial Day. They might be doing something for Memorial Day weekend, but then other than that, my parents are coming out in June, so I'll have to make sure I'm back for that. They're coming out from Massachusetts, and they'll be staying a week or so here at an RV park right down the road, and so that'll be good to have them out here because we haven't been out east since last spring, so didn't make it this spring, and so we'll see. Maybe in the fall. But anyways, I'll try and trying to plan some places to go. I you saw from the video I just put up yesterday. The bighorns are still under snow, so no camping up there right now. There was a campground on the other side that I might have been able to do down by Tensley. But that's all the way over the mountains again, and it's in a canyon, so there's no phone signal. So I have to go into town every day to work, which is kind of a hassle. I try not to do that if I can help it. Um, so anyway, yeah, just been the excitement right now, getting fenced out and working on a remodeling project in between um, all the regular work stuff. And make sure I didn't miss anything here, you know. So, um, yeah, I had those text messages like Deborah was saying. We have some good friends who were we met at our meetup last year actually, and actually we've done a video with them on our channel as well. But he's dealing with some health issues, and so there's a group text thread going there. They've been keeping us updated on how he's doing, so hoping for the best with that, and hoping they're able to get some improvement for him. Okay, so yeah, I put up uh, in the title too about hot. So that topic, how hot is too hot, right? It's been it was cold and cloudy and rainy for like a couple of weeks, and there you go. Linda's asking about the weather. This is it. um, yeah, it was cold and cloudy and rainy for a couple of weeks. It was nice when I got here. Then it got nasty, and then we actually had a snowstorm, you know, in the middle of that, and then like the last couple of days, it's been like in the 70s, which, yeah, and 70s is pretty nice if you have some shade, mid 70s and upper 70s I think today. But when you're parked in full sun, it's like, because there's not a lot of shade in the plains here, or in the desert, but one of the plains here, there's not much shade, so uh, that heats up. So if you get the shade, it's really nice, but when you get the van parked in the sun, it's like it tends to get pretty hot. So I've got all the reflectix up and curtains up today, and for a while this afternoon when the sun was real high, it's cooling down now, but when the sun was real high, it hit 95 degrees in the van this afternoon. So that's like, 18, 20 degrees above outside. And that was with all 7 windows in the back open, because the 4 barn doors have tip out windows, and then I have little vent windows on the 3 big windows on the sides. So I had all of that 7 of those open, and the roof vent fan going, and I was still like it still got up to 95 in here, which was just like, oh, this is ridiculous. And then I got this cooler that is, when it was cool, it kept ice for. I dropped a 20-pound bag of ice in it, and it lasted for like a week. Uh, so I got this thing's got. It's a pretty heavy cooler, and then it's got 2 inches of blue foam insulation all the way around, top, all 4 sides and underneath, and so I pulled that out there, and I dropped a thermometer in there to check on that, and that's only running like 60 degrees in there. So it's keeping it like it was 35 degrees cooler than the van, but that's going to go through a lot of ice, and that's a little concerning for trying to keep food at that temperature. So I'm going to have to either find somewhere to park where I'm more can get some shade, Deborah was telling me about a portable air conditioner unit she used to have that she was able to use when she was in an RV park. So if I can get somewhere I can plug in, maybe I can do something like that for the summer as well, because that's just not that's pretty miserably hot. And But that's been our experience is that even with insulation and reflectics and shades and all the rest. Now, if you start dragging out shade cloth, that helps some more too, because you're kind of making artificial shade. But without that, which I can't really do that in the city because I'm trying not to look like I'm in a camper van, you know. Without that, I mean, our experience is it's usually 10 to 20 degrees hotter in the van than outside. And that's the absolute best you're ever going to get is the same temperature as outside if you're in the shade or something, or if you're not getting if it's cloudy, you're not getting a lot of direct sunlight. But if the sun's beating on the van, it just eventually heats up, and and that's been our experience about 10 or 20 degrees. So that's kind of what it was doing today. It was running about 18 or 20 degrees above the outside temperature because of the sun. So that was pretty brutal. Fortunately, at my son's house, they have central air, so I went in and played with the grandbabies for a while and got cooled down. So, I'm missing a few questions here. Thank you, Deborah. That's one of the great things about having the moderators on here is like with Deborah's help me out here, make sure I don't miss things that I might otherwise not get, I might miss. So let's see. Oh, street tacos. I appreciate you logging in for a bit. Have a good evening. Um, yeah, I haven't really thought about painting it just because it's this one you can see the way it's angled and you can see it, so I don't really want to make it stand out anymore. Um, but I know that some people do that and it probably helps with on the roof. But the roof is insulated pretty good here. I think it's got 2 inches of foam in the roof if my memory's right. But I know we insulated the roof before we put the paneling back up in. But I think it's more the glass is a lot of the problem in here because they get so much heat comes with even with the reflectix. It's still you lose heat around, get heat in around it, and it's a couple of the windows. The barn door windows I don't have reflectix for. I only have curtains. So getting some reflectix for those or heavier, you know, thermal curtains would probably help as well. So let's see. Yeah, I probably will switch to a 12-volt fridge once I am able to upgrade the power system. Right now, I don't have enough power to run one. Uh, well, there you go. A shade that goes over the vehicles. That would work. We got one that Deborah has one that we can clip on the rain gutters or on the roof racks and drag off the side. That does make a difference. But of course, in hers, she's got all the solar panels on the roof. We can't cover the solar panels, but that does, and we'll move it like twice a day, oftentimes to as the sun moves, and that makes a pretty big difference. Just be able to create that shade, so that whole side of the vehicle stays cooler. Let's see, how are you liking the desk? The desk is really good. Um, uh, Definitely enjoying that. It's so nice to be able to leave the computer set up and just get up in the morning and everything's ready to go. Um, I use external hard drives for storage, and what I used to have to do in the van or the car. It was so ridiculous. Plug in the external drive and there's nowhere to put it because you get the laptop in your lap, but you don't have a surface to put anything on, and you don't want it dangling by the USB. So I'd have to like tuck it under my leg on the seat and then use it and everything, and then just little accessories you use or anything, and or a notebook to write notes or like cheat sheet for the day. Uh, it's just really nice to be able to have everything on a desk and able to work and get a place to write and to use the laptop and it's working really well. That's a huge upgrade having a desk. So I got a couple people got to go here. Let's see. Catherine's just popping in. Hello, Catherine. And Joan, thanks for joining for a while. I hope you have a good evening. I know you got plenty of projects you're working on right now. Yeah, there you go. Greg's saying that the dorm for that's I believe that's what you actually sized that for, if I remember right. Um, so that would work too. The cooler worked great when it's not too hot. I haven't been able to find block ice the places I've gone yet. But with the bags, it was I got a week out of the first 20-pound bag of ice easily, and still had plenty of leftovers in there. Um, but it was like the weather wasn't too bad. But now the last couple of days, it's been getting 90 degrees in the van, so so making it melt a little faster. But this thing, I was talking to my son. He's got a Yeti cooler, and and we were comparing notes, and this thing works as well or better, as well or better than his Yeti does in terms of how long it keeps ice and stuff and keeps things cold with the extra insulation around it. So, but yeah, I will probably go with a some kind of compact fridge at some point just for the convenience and not having to remember to keep track of getting ice and stuff. And I will tell you today, I had to change the water today, drain the water out, and Greg's got this rather ingenious program he set up with a hose that you can just siphon it out, so you don't have to take the whole thing out and dump it and everything. And it worked really well. It just siphoned it out, dumped in my new ice, and good to go. So, and the other thing I'll tell you, I don't think I showed it in the video, but it's Greg had I think it was a dish basin, dish pan that fits in there just perfectly, and so the ice is on the bottom, and then all the food and stuff is in that bucket, so none of the food ever gets wet, which is really nice because otherwise, you end up with ruining food and stuff when it gets wet, which I've run into in the past. So let's see, getting behind here on comments. Sandy's asking if I can totally stand up. I can almost. If I tip my head to the side, I actually can stand straight. The rest of me is straight, so it's pretty darn good. And somebody that was a few inches shorter would probably be able to stand totally straight normally. But it's nice to be able to get dressed standing up or to move around, standing up or almost standing up straight. I keep catching myself bending over much further than I need to. So, let's see. Okay. Yeah, Linda, it's really great with the space. I've got the room to work and with the way the stove slides back out of the way and bungee cords to the wall for travel, so I actually can use the whole kitchen part if I want to really spread out. But yeah, it's just much more efficient and productive to just be able to have everything um, set up and room to work and do things like normal. So that's definitely been really nice compared to trying to do everything in my lap. So let's see. Yeah, the noise and the heat are both kind of an issue up here. So that's yeah, that was really hard on Deborah with the heat, and we tried that. Even at last year, we tried got an RV park site for a while, and we were trying, and that was our thought was, well, we won't have to worry about the batteries, and we can run, several fans and whatever, and even with the fans going, you get up to 90 degrees, and the fan is so hot, and even if you're even with like the roof vents, both roof vents going, and other fans inside, you can keep the air moving and stuff, but it's just hot. It was too hot for Deborah because it's just not shade. So, that so she's finding places that the weather agrees with her a little more right now. So, I haven't seen that Ezzy cool before, but I'll take a look at that. Oh, Linus asked you to do a video on a cooler setup. I can do that. That's a good idea because it does work well, and I can't fault it for only keeping ice for a few days and not being as cold as I'd like it to be on, when it's in the 90s in the fan. But it's cooling down again after tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last hot day right now, and then it's dropping back into the 50s for like a week or so. So I'll be fine again for a while after that. So it was just a few day hot spell. So. But yeah, I can do a video about that because it does work well, and that's if you don't have uh, if you're not able to do 12-volt refrigerator or a dorm fridge, either just because of the cost with the 12-volt fridges, or if you don't have power to run them real consistently, um, and you're using a cooler, this is a pretty efficient setup that keeps ice pretty good, and that's, you know, pretty. At least I'm able to keep produce and stuff, um, and like days like right now, I got a few cold drinks in there because it's, nice to have something cold. Normally, I don't even care if the water is cold or whatever, but it's nice when it's really hot to be able to get something cold to drink. Yeah, the technology is really handy for when you're in different places. I mean, whether to keep in touch with Deborah right now, or keeping in touch with the grandkids when I'm traveling, or family out east, it's just so much easier than it was, uh, even just a few years ago. That it's always difficult being away from loved ones, but it makes it a lot easier if you can stay in touch easily and send photos and FaceTime and send video clips and things. And today I was sending a photo to my family out east and to Deborah about of the youngest the next to youngest granddaughter, who's now eating like she has her top teeth in, so she's eating like sandwiches and stuff, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're growing up too fast. And last on Sunday we had a birthday party for the one that just turned 5, and so I was able to send video clips of us singing happy birthday and her blowing out the candles and stuff to everyone. So that does help. That's really nice to be able to do that. Yeah, cold heat. I think as long as, like, you can do it in a van. In a car, and I was in a car, the cold was just terrible because you couldn't really do anything about supplemental heat other than running the engine. But yeah, generally speaking, I think it's probably usually easier to get warm when it's too cold than it is to get cool when it's too hot, unless you're like in a house and you can run air conditioning and stuff. Um, but for a lot of us, unless you're plugged in somewhere, you're not able to run. I guess technically you can run air conditioning on solar if you got enough panels and batteries, but most people don't. So. Yeah, my son has another cooler. I forget the brand name, but he said it's quite a bit cheaper than the Yeti, and it's almost as good. He said it worked really well too. But, oh, hello, Scott. Well, there you go. And that's saying something, Deborah. If you can, if a cooler works in Texas in the summer in a tent, that says a lot. Linda's asking if I have a short power hookup. I do not. Although when I moved around to the front here, I don't have the solar panel out because A, I don't want to attract attention, and B, the way the sun moves with the house, it does. I don't really. I wouldn't. I would only be able to get sun about half the day anyway, or part. Maybe a little more than half. So, but I'm right in front of the garage, so I ran an extension cord out and up through the back door, and I borrowed my son's battery charger, which he doesn't know yet because he's not home from work, but and hooks it up to the battery, so I can still run the LED lights and the roof vent fan and my other little 12-volt oscillating fan um, while, while I'm plugged in out here. So I'm not suffering. But yeah, I probably will eventually add a dedicated shore power plug-in for those times when I have it available. Oh, USB table fan. Yeah, that would be handy because I can't be pulling too much power if it's running on USB. I actually tried one of those out. I had for a while when I was in the minivan. I did it for Bob Wells. I did a test on it, and it ran on USB. And I was actually able to run it on my little battery bank here, or straight off my. I usually ran on that, but I did run it straight off the little foldable solar panel too, which we're going to do a video about those real quick, too, real soon as well, about that setup. But I had tested one of those, and I think put out a surprising amount of wind for a little USB powered device. Oh, Samantha, hello. And I still got to get back to you about that trip to New York. I just saw it on my email earlier. So I got behind with the travel and working on my son with that remodeling project and kind of got behind on email and social media and everything. So yeah, the grandchildren are pretty awesome. They bring me a tremendous amount of joy. My father always says if he knew grandchildren were so much fun, he would have had them first instead of the kids. But yeah, the I've only done one fill up. I'll have to fill up before I do another trip, coming back. And that first, well, I filled up at Butte, Montana, and so then I filled up again once on the way back. And even pulling the toad and going over some mountains, I was still at 15 point something miles a gallon, which was pretty impressive for the extra couple thousand pounds behind it and the mountains. So I'm curious to see what I'm able to get on flat rounds. And I also wasn't using the cruise control because I was towing and doing mountains and stuff. So I'm really curious to see if I can bump that up just a little bit more um, when I'm driving on flat ground and not towing. So, oh, hello, Betty from Texas. We got a few Texans on here, I think. I know Deborah, of course, is from Texas, and I know we have a bunch of viewers from Texas. I think a few of them are on here tonight. Oh, I guess I got time then. It's not till fall. That's good. The fall is awesome up there, though. I brought Deborah out there in the spring last year, and well, aside from the fact it rained 5 weeks we were there, and it rained every day but 5 days. Uh, but I keep telling her we got to go back in the fall because the foliage is so amazing all around up in the Northeast and especially up in the Adirondack. Well, the Catskills too. The Catskills and the just kind of different that and the Adirondacks, but they're both gorgeous. Yeah, the mountains were really pretty. I basically from where I was at to where I had to get to, there's you can either take 14 or 14 alternate 16 over the mountains, or you go way south and back up, or way north and around. So, and I went up the northern route on I-90, but I wanted to see some of the mountains and stuff. So I took the easiest route over the mountains, and it was still it saved some mileage from going around, but it was still a pretty steep grade. But in the snow, yeah, I knew there'd be snow like on top, but I was hoping some of the camping areas would be melted out, they just weren't. It's still I meant to stop and get a shot of one of the forest roads, but a lot of times they're not well marked ahead of time. So you're kind of like, oh, there it goes, and you're towing a car and everything. So I didn't turn around to go get it. Yeah, but yeah, Deborah, I was really pleased with the mileage on that. I think now Greg told me, I think he said he was around 14 miles a gallon. He was getting on it, which again is pretty respectable. Deborah's van is, she's usually about 12. I really make a game of trying to get it as high as I can, so I can get 13 or 14 out of Deborah's if I'm really careful. Towing it drops to about 11, so to hit 15 point something towing and um, doing some mountains was really impressive. It's got the smaller motor in it, the 302, and it just does really well. So I'm very pleased with that, and especially coming from a car that gets 45 miles a gallon, and before that a minivan I get 26 and 28. I was nervous about the fuel going into a full size van, so I'm really pleased that it's as good as it is. Um, but that was a little bit of a worry. And of course, that was one of the negatives when I was thinking about a small RV too. Is that usually um, everybody I talk to that has like small class C's and stuff. Well, class C's of anything, they seem to usually be around 8 or 9 miles a gallon. Sometimes you hear a little better, or a little worse, but that's kind of a normal. So I'm getting like twice that almost with this van. So that definitely allows me to go further. All right, so let's see. I'm trying to get caught up here. Is the Toad going to be for sale, and are we thinking of selling the Echo? Um, I am probably almost certainly going to end. Yeah, that's my inclination is to go ahead and sell that sometime this summer. Um, the I just don't want to tow it with the van for one thing. It's fine on flat ground. It doesn't have any problem with it. But going on the long grades or the mountains, it's just works too hard. It didn't overheat. It's well within spec from Ford and everything. It's just my opinion that I don't want the van working that hard, the engine and transmission and stuff, because I don't want to wear it out. It's in good condition. It's well maintained, and it's got low mileage, and I'd like to make it last a long time. So I just can't see doing that. And the other issue is that, well, the two other issues. One, you can't back up when you're towing four down. You have to drop the vehicle off and turn around. So if you go down a road and you can't get out, or you get even in a parking lot and you get stuck, and that's bad enough when you got two people because one can, drive while you get turned around. But doing it by yourself, then you're doing it all alone, and that's a hassle. And then the other thing is just that the Echo is so low to the ground. It was fantastic for what we bought it for, but it's so low to the ground, it's really hard to get it out onto a lot of forest and BLM primitive roads because the ground clearance is so low. There's good traction and stuff, but those roads are rutted and rocky and washes, and it's just, and then it's even harder when you're towing it because you're trying to line up two different vehicles as you're straddling things. so, so yeah, I just feel like at this point it's probably better off to sell that, and then I'll put the money towards van type projects and stuff like that. So, but it has been a fantastic vehicle for us, and other than the only big thing we had was that transmission we had to replace, and other than that, I had a few minor repairs, but it's been a really solid vehicle. So. Yeah, I know people who do the generator run AC, and that would, you know, I mean, could be an option, but the they're unless you get spend a good amount of money, they're pretty noisy, and then I have to put a hitch hole in the back for the generator and fuel cans, and I try and it would not be my first choice to deal with. I wouldn't say 100% no, never, but it's there's aggravations that go with the generators too, and then people steal them. I've heard of, I have a friend who had two generators stolen off the back of his RV just not too long ago, and he had them chained down and everything, and they cut the chains and they were gone. So that's kind of a concern too. Oh, thanks for joining us, Lori. Have a good evening. Um, Solar and battery changes. What I got right now is a small setup. It's a 100-watt panel. It's actually just a standard Renogy 100-watt rooftop panel, but it has custom-made legs for it, so I can put it outside and prop it up. And then that as a 50-foot cord. So the good thing there is that I can be parked if I have shade available. I can park in the shade and put the panel in the sun, but there just isn't shade around here. It doesn't matter. But and then it's got a small single AGM battery, and when the sun is shining, on a good day when the sun is shining, I have plenty of sun. Like right now, I have enough to run the laptop all day and the fan, and that's about it. I have to be careful, and I even have to be, it's so basically I'm pulling in 5-6 amps, and I'm using 5 or 6 amps, so it's a little bit of a, I have to let the battery charge up in the morning before I do anything, and then I can work during the day, and towards the evening I have to like run the laptop just off the laptop battery, not pulling off the house battery for more than a short period of time, so I don't deplete that. So what I need to do is either I need to get more panels and more batteries so that I have a bigger buffer and I'm able to work all day on cloudy days. Because when I was having those cloudy days, when I first got it, I was only able to work maybe a few hours a day without having to find somewhere to plug in. So what Greg was using it for was just the roof fan and the LED lights, and it was more than adequate for those needs. With running around the laptop all day, especially when you're doing video editing, it takes a lot of power. Um, so I need to. I'm debating between getting a couple of flexible panels that I probably store like on the mattress, and I'd have like several panels I could put out and run in, and then with more batteries. Or uh, I have found a roof rack that'll go on this van, I believe, and it goes up. It's a tall one that goes over the high top. Um, so that's an option too. Then I can put on standard panels, and be able to have more power that way. So it's just a matter of which way I decide to go with that. I'm still kind of debating. That'll be one of the projects I'm working on this summer. In any case, and I will definitely film that whole process. So. Oh, Julie's up in the Midwest too. Yeah. So yeah, Deborah's got a bunch of people she's going to be meeting up with during her travels this summer, and I got a few I'll be meeting up with that are going to be over this neck of the woods. So yeah, yeah, we had that little generator for a while, and we were able. It was a blessing because it met a need for us at a time when we were redoing the van and had power disrupted, and so it met a need, and we were very grateful for it. But even being a small one, Deborah couldn't handle the noise over near, so I'd go like I was probably 50 or I bet it was 75 or 100 yards away, at least 100 yards, I'm betting. Anyways, and I'd put the thing down in a wash to help muffle the noise, and then being 100 yards away, and it was she could tolerate it, but she could still hear it. But if it was any closer, she just couldn't even deal with the noise. Um, yeah, and then the fumes are annoying too. That's another thing. So, but we were out in the middle of nowhere, so we were able to drag it off with a long cord away from the the rig I was using at the time too. So that helped. First remodeling project. Um, the van, I actually like everything the way it is. Um, I'm probably gonna. I need to do something for better temperature control on the windows. I'll probably either have to get reflectix or some like heavyweight like thermal curtains for the barn doors so that help control the heat on that. Um, Other than that, I'm just doing some decor stuff. You see, I got a few decorations put up behind me, and I put. Oops, let me see here. Remodeling, not remolding. There you go. So I put these up, and I put these up with. I didn't want to put holes in the wood or anything, so I found command brand Velcro strips. So they're command strips on both sides, so you can pull the little tab and take it off the wood without damaging the finish or having a mess. But then they're Velcro, so I just put them on the picture frames and then took off the back strip and stuck them on. So when I need to take them down, or if I want to move them or anything, the Velcro will come apart. Then I can pull the little tab and take the other half of the Velcro off. So that worked really nice and easy. So I'm just doing some of the decor things like that. Um, and then I think the solar is going to be the first big project, really, to get that squared away. And that's going to be definitely before I start traveling in the fall. So get that done, and then I'll probably put in some kind of electric refrigerator just to make that a little easier. Um, so those are kind of it's great because I've got, like I showed in the video, I've got 14 gallons of water in here right now, and I got room for 28, I think. So if you got 28 gallons of water in an electric fridge and enough solar to keep things going, I can go out for a while and not have to worry about going into town. If I could find somewhere to camp where I have a good cell signal and sun for solar, I mean, I could be out for a good period of time and not have to go anywhere. So I'm kind of excited about that opportunity. Oh, the picture there. Yeah, no, that's just that. That's the yard. I took the picture from inside their yard, and you see the fence on both sides. And they were gonna put a gate in there, in that opening. I actually helped my son build that fence last summer, but they hadn't get around to putting the gate in yet. But behind that fence is the storage property, and so there's several, probably a half dozen RVs out there. And that one, I wish I could have got the picture without that one in it. 'Cause it's kind of ugly, but that thing's been there for like a year or two and hasn't moved. It's like missing parts and yeah. So that's just the storage yard back there. You can kind of see a little bit of the car trailer to the left of uh, the one side on the left there to the fence. Um, and then he just got a cool. Some of you might be interested in this. I should get a picture. But he's got a he was gonna put a build a little camper area on that car trailer that he tows his gambler vehicle with because he's gotten tired of sleeping on the ground in a tent, you know. So but he ended up he's got his current his new gambler rig is the Jeep pickup truck. So he got a Smitty built one of those truck tents, and the thing's mounted onto the top of the bed rails, so he's got storage underneath still. But it's got a cover on. I take the cover off and grab the ladder, and it just pops open, and it's like instantly ready to use. So it's pretty cool. You do have to climb up the ladder, which if you have to get up several times at night, might be annoying, but it's pretty cool anyway. It beats sleeping on the ground. So I'll have to get a picture of that and put it on social media or something. Deborah Van Sant says the thermal curtains work really well. I have not used them before, but I've heard from a few people that did and said they made a big difference. So yeah, I could see get my mother to make a make a quilt for the bed. She does quilts and she did the pot holders here. Let me make it read to show you. These are she made these for me at Christmas time. So I'm able to use those. They were in the car. So and those are handy because I have this little cheap tiki pot from Walmart. Yeah, I can show you. It's right underneath here. It's nothing fancy, but it was like $6 or $8 or something. It's usually not this hard to get out. It's just I'm trying to do it on video. There we go. All right, so I got this little teapot, but to heat my water for my coffee. But the the handle's all stainless steel too, so the handle gets hot. So I was having to use like a paper towel to wrap around here or get a glove out, to pour it. So now with the pot holders I can just grab hold and not burn my hands. So, but yeah, she does these things, and she's got this thing this year. She's doing every month. She's doing a different table runner for. I don't know if it's for their dining room table or their coffee table, but she's doing a table runner every month, and she does quilts, and so she did that stuff somewhat before, but now that she's retired, it's kind of her hobby. She puts a ridiculous amount of hours into making some of these things. Like any of you to do any kind of handcraft work, how time consuming it is to make those things by hand. Oh, okay. So Deborah and Samantha are both mentioning a video with a truck tent. I will ask him about that. He'll probably be glad to do that. Um, and like Samantha saying, she's thinking about buying one, but not sure. Um, I've seen it in pictures and ads and stuff, and I've seen a few of them set up, but they weren't people actually talked to, so I didn't actually get to see them close or anything. So I was never really sure exactly. But I've seen people put them on the roof of Jeeps and SUVs and stuff, and also of course, in the bed of a pickup truck. Um, so it was kind of cool. I was impressed with how quick it was to set up. Oh, Cat didn't get the notification. Sorry about that. I logged into one of my YouTube accounts the other day, and they had a survey question: How good is YouTube about sending notifications? Not nearly as good as I would like. So far, I am still just sitting in my camp chair, and that works, but it's not ideal. So I am going to be looking for a good desk chair. There's already eye hooks underneath here that I can attach a bungee cord to keep it in place when I drive. So for now, I'm using the camp chair. It's about the right height. It's just not quite as comfortable as I'd like, and I can't pull in quite as much as I'd like, but it's not bad. So, but that's on the list too, is to get a desk chair. So. Yeah, trees. Parking under trees is yeah. You can't do that with you got a solar on 'cause you don't you're in shade for one thing, and then yeah, like Deborah saying, any tree that leaks sap like pines or any of the others that like to drip sap, they get that gook all over your solar panels, and you got to get them cleaned up again. And falling limbs is definitely a concern. Yeah, that widow maker that Deborah's talking about was at the summer RTR in Flagstaff, right after we met. We were camped next door to each other back when she had her van wrapped like a burrito, and she had that limb come down out of a tree and went right through her table that was right outside of her van. So that's kind of it's a balance. It's one of these balancing things because you like the shade, but it can make a mess out of your roof if you got panels and stuff on there. Oh, that would be interesting, being able to go up through the roof of the Jeep into the tent. That's pretty cool. That's a neat feature. Yeah, and this van is a good example, Catherine, of the time it takes to do stuff, handcraft stuff. I don't even know how many hours he's got into this, but it's a lot, and just some of the little details and stuff. And Betty got the notification. Good. Yeah, not a problem parking under trees in quartzsite, Mark. In quartzsite, you can park next to a tree sometimes, a Palo Verde, or park next to a cactus or something. But Greg is buying he's got a pickup truck he's already bought in there. They have a fifth wheel lined up they're probably buying, so they're going to be doing the trailer thing to have more room and comfort for two of them. And hopefully going to be meeting up with them this summer. So I'm hoping when they start traveling this summer. So I'm hoping I can meet, do a video if he's up to it. Do a video with him with their new setup and everything. And he's got some great ideas. We didn't get around to doing when I was up there this time, but we were talking about preventative maintenance for nomads and stuff on vehicles. So hopefully we can get that video done too. So yeah, all the trim and all the wood is stained and sealed, and it's just yeah, it's really so cozy and comfortable. It's just yeah, I've never used anything on but water on solar panels personally, just because out of an abundance of caution. Oh, but yeah. Anyway, the van is fantastic. I am really loving this. I'm just working on some decor tweaks now, which you've seen some of them here, and you'll see a few more coming out in the near future. And then, like I said, I'll be making some solar upgrades, and that's really, I mean, I made the electric fridge. That's really about it. It's I really like the way it's set up, and it's working really well for me. So I am going. Okay, it's the other thing on my list here that I forgot to put this in my title or anything, but um, I have three granddaughters playing t-ball here in Wyoming. One is and they're in two different leagues because of their age differences to make it more interesting. And all of their games, which only run about a month, they end in early June. But all of their games are on Mondays and Wednesdays. And I'm putting them on my calendar. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, thank you, Deborah. I appreciate that. So all their games are on Mondays and Wednesdays, and which is the days Deborah and I do live chats, and we sometimes do like a premiere video. Those are on Mondays typically. So it's like I'm working, and the games start. Their games start at they go from like 5:30 to 6:30, or 6:30 to 7:30, depending on the game. And my chat starts at 6 here this time. So like the best I'd be able to do is get a few minutes in, and I'd have to leave. So um, what I'm going to do for the next at least for the next month or so, is I'm going to bump these weekly chats to Tuesday evenings, which is when we usually do our two Meander one that we aren't doing right now because we're not in the same place. So hopefully that will still work for everyone since that's when we were doing the two Meander one. So same time and everything, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. Just it just at on Tuesday, so I can catch a few of their games on Wednesdays. So the girls are excited about that. They were kind of disappointed that Pops didn't make the game Monday or Wednesday this week. They just started this week. Guys, I'll change my schedule around for next week so I can go to your game on Wednesday. So next week we'll do this on Tuesday, and for at least for into June, and then we can kind of, we'll figure it out from there. Um, as far as whether which way whether to continue that or what, but um, oh, so Deborah Van Sant has the same schedule for her granddaughters as Auger. Let's see. Yeah, this van is Samantha. I'm not exaggerating. If I built a van, if I thought I was going to be buying an empty shell, an empty van, and doing it myself, and it wouldn't have looked near as good because I don't have the patience to do that. But um, this is just about exactly what I would have done. Um, so really, just amazing, and it's just done so well. Is just a thrill, and all the little touches that just bring me a surprising amount of joy um, throughout the day. So, yeah, I really blessed with this van. Let's see. How do you get my contact info? It should be. I think it's in the video description. There's a bunch of stuff in the video description. I don't have a mailing address in the description, I don't believe, but my website's in there and all my social media stuff. And if my email's not, it's just robert.witham@gmail.com. But all my website and social media stuff is in the video description beneath the video. Gonna add a backup camera. I definitely was thinking about it when we were towing the car. I'm not sure now. Um, I got windows on both sides of the back, so if I open the curtains, I actually can see out the back pretty good, anyways. Um, but I'm not. I haven't really thought about it since I don't plan on towing the car. But it could happen. But it would have been really nice with a car because the car is so small. It's actually narrower than the van, either one of the vans. So it's really hard to see it back there. If you're in a corner, you can see it, but if you're going straight, you can kind of like see the side mirror sticking out a little bit, and that's it. So I was always a little worried if it was still back there. Let's see. And do you know if you're all doing Rice Ranch next year? Betty, we believe we are planning on doing something in. We actually have talked about it and haven't nailed anything down, but we are planning on doing something. We may do it at a different venue though, and the reason for that is just that it was so noisy with traffic. It's right on Rice Ranch is right on one of the really busy intersections of Corsite, and there's a traffic light there. So you got the vehicles, and trucks, and loud RVs and everything else getting started, and so it's just it was pretty loud, and I cringe every time I edit one of the videos from there with how loud the traffic is in the background, and so we are considering a different venue if we do it. Although that worked out well for us for the last 2 years. We'd like to find somewhere maybe a little bit quieter if we can. So we are planning on doing something, and we've talked about that. And we'll be finalizing something pretty soon. We know we need to get that done pretty quick so we can get dates and location out to people who are traveling and need to know that stuff ahead of time. It's not a lot of people are in that area already anyway, so it's not too big of a deal. But you know, there you go. Mark's mentioning Crystal Hill. I still haven't been down there, and I saw your video about it though, so I need to check that out this year. Let's see. Yes, thank you, Deborah. Yeah, so we can facilitate that if you need to get in touch with somebody else here and want to do it that way. We can connect to people that way. Yeah, that's last year when they were playing, it was a more varied schedule. They were on different nights and sometimes on weekends. And this one is all Mondays and Wednesdays for both of them, or all three of them, both teams. I was like, wait a minute, that's not going to work. So appreciate everybody's understanding there. Itching to go, had to go. Thanks for joining us tonight. There you go. There's a good quote for you, Deborah. Yeah, it's a little earlier in the year. Even it's not so bad. Like even in November down there at Rice Ranch because there's not near as much traffic. But by mid December when we were doing the meetup this year, the traffic had getting pretty heavy, and it was. I mean, it quieted down at night, but it still was some traffic, but it was better at night. But boy, being on that intersection like that, you just got it both sides, and it's it was pretty noisy. So you have to find something a little bit, hopefully finds it a little bit quieter. So, but we have been talking about it and working on figuring that out. So, reupholstering furniture, that's a challenge that I'd never tackled that. Um, my youngest son Jake, he and his wife have been redoing their kitchen chairs and tables. They had them all sand. She spent so much time on those, sanding them down to bare wood, and they were stained when they got them. So they sanded them to bare wood, and they're painting them and then she went and reupholstered the seats and everything. Took the seats off and redid yeah. It came out really nice. Did a good job. So blocking the camera. So I've cooked it here a few times. Nothing too fancy yet. I will probably be doing some more starting about the weekend. I'll actually start doing some more cooking here because it's been so hot this week that I just don't want to heat the fan up. I've actually gone to the store on the corner a couple times to get coffee because I didn't even want to boil water in here because just didn't want to make it anything to heat it up anymore in the morning. But it's cooling down again, so I won't mind cooking inside when it's in the 50s. So yeah, Gina was there. She knows about the truck noise. So but yeah, that was. So we'll try and find something a little quieter if we can. So Samantha's asking if the window's all open. That is one of the amazing things that I really love about this van. It's got two big windows on the driver's side, then two barn doors in the back, and then a big window on the passenger side in the back, and then two barn doors in the front. And all three of the big windows have little vent sliders underneath on the bottom that open up, and those are screened, and they're about, I don't know, about, something like that, yay tall, and about a foot and a half long, maybe. So those are great, and when you turn on, and if there's any breeze at all, that just really lets a lot of air in, and when you turn the fan on, the roof fan on, blowing out, it just sucks the air in through those things. So that's really nice. And then all four of the barn doors in here actually have tip-out windows. Those don't have screens on them, but they do open up, and that is, so you get seven plus the roof vent. And then, of course, the front windows can be put down, and those also have screens that go on outside magnetically. And I got a couple of screens, I think there's three of them, I'm not positive, that I can open the whole barn doors and hang screens off with magnets. I have not done that yet. It's hot enough. I would like to do it right now, but I'm in town, so I'm trying to trying to be discreet. So sticking to things that aren't too obvious. But I would do that if I was out. And so that's really cool having all that kind of airflow. And when it's not really hot and I'm camped somewhere, I love taking down some of the reflectix and opening up the curtains so I can see out because I have a 360-degree view. Then, of course, I have this curtain behind me too, which is nice to separate off the cab. And then, but then again, with unlike in a car or something, it was really hard to do. When I'm doing video editing or photo editing, I really need it reasonably dark so I can don't have any glare on the screen, and all the curtains and reflectix lets me do that, and I can, so I can have like one window open or two windows open or whatever I need that I can so I can see outside still, but I can block the glare from wherever that's coming from. And the windows are, I don't know if the front windows are tinted. They're not very much if they are, but the back windows are all tinted, which is nice too. And it's kind of I didn't even notice it at first, but Greg was mentioning it to me, and I looked. It's a gradient. So the middle ones are like kind of tinted a little lighter in the back. In the back, they're tinted darker, so it kind of gets darker as it goes back. But they are all tinted around in the back of the van, which is really nice. Let's see. Samantha, I may I will probably either figure out a way to put screens inside or get some smaller screen sections that I can put on outside with magnets, just to. Right now there aren't a lot of bugs where I'm at, so it's not too bad. So I was able to open them up, but obviously some places you can't. There's a lot of bugs, and it's just downright miserable. We get a lot up here in Wyoming. We get a lot of these biting black flies in the summer, and they are just so obnoxious because they're like annoying enough buzzing around. Then they land on your leg or something and bite you. I mean, yeah, so they're not fun. So I will, I will, yeah, I will definitely figure something out, whether inside or outside. Inside's nice because then you don't have to worry about taking them on and off, or it's easier to take them on and off. But and Christy, off the top, this sounds terrible. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I know I discussed financial stuff. I don't remember how much I got into. Seems like I talked about income somewhat in there, but if here on my channel, if there's a playlist for uh, income on the road, and I can't remember if there's 4 or 5 videos in it. But I talk about a bunch of different ways people make income on the road, from freelancing to small businesses to seasonal jobs and all those kind of things. Um, and so there's some ideas in there. There's and some resources where you might look. Um, it's a little bit hard to give too precise details because everybody's what the kind of work they want to do is so different. I mean, for example, if you're in the health care field, if you're a nurse or a physical therapist, or anything, you can do travel, uh, medical stuff, and people could do that. So but that's you have to be licensed and trained in a certain thing to do that. And so, like some of the stuff I do, like writing and photography and videography, those are very specific skills. Uh, so it's but I know I cover some financial stuff in there, and um, and you may want to check out that playlist on here. Though I think it's 3 or 4 or 5 videos, something like that, and I cover a lot of that in that. They're not anything fancy. They're just me talking to the camera. There's no fancy video work or anything, but they you may find some good content in there too, in addition to whatever's in the book. So. Yeah, thanks to everyone who's saying they found that book lots of good info, and to the book to have lots of good info. I appreciate that. Any other books planned? I have a Sandy's asking. I actually have a list of ideas. I'm not quite ready to. I haven't picked out the next one to do. Put it that way. But I do have a list of some ideas that I want to do. But I'm going to need to get my schedule a little better in line before I tackle another book project. Oh, thanks for sharing that playlist, Deborah. Yeah, and for people who need to work, meaning you're not retired and have enough money to live on indefinitely. People who need to work on the road, it's some people the process comes along very easy, but for a lot of people it is a challenge trying to figure out exactly that and broadly it's going to fall into three kind of categories of work. One is what I am as a digital nomad, and that basically covers everybody who's using computers and the internet to work, whether they're working for a company remotely or doing freelance work or running a business, whatever. They're digital nomads. So that's one category. Another is people with they're not digital nomads, but they might have what's sometimes called location independent businesses. And so some examples of that are people. I know people out here who do knife sharpening and flea markets and eBay and stuff. They buy and sell they buy and sell things online. So they're able to ship from anywhere in the country. And then the third broad category is people who are working seasonal or temporary jobs. And we have a lot of friends who do that, and it works well for them. They go, and again, they may work for one company, going to work in different places, or they may have three or four or six jobs, and and usually the first year is the hardest because if you like a place, you can make arrangements to go back. But there's a lot of just about every kind of job you can imagine that's can be done on a temporary basis. You can do, and and uh, and you find those through places like websites like Coolworks or Work Camper News, places like that, or just looking at temporary employment places in the areas you want to go to. So it does take some research and legwork, and uh, it comes down to what kind of work you want to do, or. But those are kind of the three broad categories. I don't know if that helps at all to think of where you might fit in that. Um, but that's I've never done the seasonal stuff because I didn't have to. I was doing freelance work, so I was able to work wherever I was at, so I could just go where I feel like. So, and Craigslist and Facebook groups are a great way to, sometimes a great way to find things like that too. Yeah, like Deborah's saying, she was just. I won't go into too many details because I think she's going to cover it in a vlog on hers. But she was just showing me a thing the other day where she found a place where there's some national forest land. They're selling it off a big chunk of the land. So there's not even. So sometimes I mean, yeah, it does change, and that's challenging. And it is. We have run into a lot of places where things are closed or where the conditions have changed from time to time. So that's kind of a challenge. It's not too hard to talk about popular areas for the popular nomad spots, but it gets tricky when you start trying to talk like the whole country or something, because it's not impossible to do this out east or in the Midwest. A lot of people do, but it's definitely easier out west. And then you kind of get your but it would be a broad yeah, but yeah, that might almost be handy as a website or something where you could keep it updated because like Deborah said, it does change surprisingly often. Yeah, we get. I got to actually have a few stacked up on our campsite reviews. We don't have like near as many as Campendium or free campsites, some of those places, but the ones we do have, they're places we've actually at least visited, if not camped at. and so there's always photos and detailed information about what amenities are there and what the road conditions are like, and GPS coordinates, and basically as much information as we can give you in an article. And it's basically, if you go, every one of them starts off with a section on top with a bullet points of the important things, and then there's a more detailed narrative description, and then there's typically photos below that, and then I embed a Google map like on the bottom too, so you can actually see exactly where it is, and get directions to go there if you want to visit it. So and yeah, if you go to the website, on in the sidebar is a list of categories like behind the scenes and other things, and one of them is campsites. And if you're looking at your phone, it'll be down on the bottom underneath, at the bottom of the page. You'll have to scroll down because it moves it to the fifths. Um, so look at campsites, and you can, like Deborah said, you can search by state or anything too, um, and they're and so you can also just do a search. There's a search bar in the sidebar, and you can type in the state and camping or campsite, and you'll find a list of everything that's in those states. So we're trying to add to that. I've got one just went up on Monday from in Montana, near where I was at, and there's another one coming up on this coming Monday that's from Montana, and then there's 2 Mondays after that will be from some in Wyoming, and I think Deborah's got a couple she's going to put up soon too. So so that'll be fun as well. Some places I haven't even seen yet. Um, so we try to, uh, give detailed information because we've been to plenty of times where you read the description and it's not very accurate, and you get there and it's like, this is nothing like what was written up. And sometimes that's good or bad depending, but it's not like what was written up. So we try to give you accurate information so you can decide if it's somewhere you want to go or not, and at least know what you're getting into. Yeah, about the, let's see, mechanical failures, older vehicles, outside of general maintenance, uh, the other expensive fixes. Transmission and engine are usually the biggies. Of course, you may have a separate transfer case if you have a four-wheel drive, and so any of those can be really expensive, and easily up into the several $1,000s range, depending on whether you're putting in used or new, and how difficult it is labor-wise. Um, on anything that's new enough to have computers, they can be pretty expensive. You have to have the control modules. Um, they can be pretty pricey. Rear axles can run, and the differential, the back, they can run, $800 or $1,000 or something. So it's those are probably some of the biggies. Um, those would be the ones I'd be most worried about for huge expenses. Most of the other stuff is going to be smaller. You get into something like even talk about engines, but even if you have, like on Deborah's van, we had to replace the intake manifold this back in the winter, and that was a pricey repair. Um, so it depends on you have to, like under heads or anything like that, and you're not replace the whole engine, but you're still, you probably can hit $1,000 pretty easily on labor on some of those. Um, so those, and it is. I mean, if you can afford to buy newer or pretty new, then you have a lesser chance of big problems, and hopefully it's covered by warranty if you do run into something. But that's not absolute, and you can definitely have a 3 or 4 or 5 year old vehicle with a major failure too. It's just a matter of likelihood, statistical likelihood, So, well, we've been driving a couple of 200,000 mile vehicles, and we try and stay on top of the preventative maintenance, and haven't had any big problems with Deborah's van, and the only I, the Echo we had to put a transmission in, and so it's got a clutch and transmission. That was expensive, um, but we went with a used unit, and it's worked flawlessly. But other than that, I had to do like a wheel bearing and exhaust flange gasket. Not anything serious. Never fun, but nothing too huge. So we've been fortunate with that. But yeah, we got higher mileage. We know a lot of people have higher mileage vehicles. And someone was asking me not too long ago how much was too much, and I may do a video about that soon. But yeah, a lot of people drive. They've gotten so expensive, but they've also gotten more they last longer, so you can get more life out of them. But it is always a little bit of a concern, the maintenance bills. Yeah, that we did almost fall off a mountain. That's a whole story. I'll save that for Deborah. She might want to tell that story in her next live chat or something. But we did almost fall off a mountain because of some bad info on it. Whoops, hitting the wrong button here. Linda's saying she said something to Bob Wells about federal land being sold off privately. I've been hearing some things about that. This one Deborah ran into was the first uh, solid example of it that I had come across. It is a concern. Yeah, Deborah's saying she'd rather replace an engine or transmission than move in or move or rebuild something new, and that is I totally agree with that. And uh, like with my minivan, for example, which was my last van, I would have replaced it if the engine or transmission went out because it was well, it had a 250,000 miles on it, and it, it it was a very simple build. I never did anything fancy with it. I always thought I would. I just never got around to it. Partly because I moved it several times, and you know. but, so yeah, like Deborah's now, she's got it. It's lovely. It's well set up. It meets her needs, and it's a huge. Um, you say, okay, I'm gonna spend 3 grand, 2 grand, 3 grand, 4 grand, put an engine or transmission in, whatever the case may be, and that's a lot of money. But you're not gonna buy much of a vehicle for another 2 or 3 or 4 thousand dollars, and then you're going to have to move all your build and rebuild. And if it doesn't fit, and it won't fit right unless it's exact to your model match, you're going to have to nothing's going to fit right, and you're going to have to move everything over and move your solar and any other customizations you got. So it's a huge aggravation there. So if it's a decent all-around vehicle and you got it built out the way you want it, you're probably better to just fix it most of the time and keep going. And then if it's getting pretty high mileage, and you're thinking uh, you may want to do uh, look to replace it. You can plan for that ahead of time, but yeah, like this van, I would definitely do. I would not be happy. It would be a pretty hard financial hit if I had to do a major component replacement, but I would definitely do that rather than trying to replace the van. It's just you know, and then that part's good. So. That's a pricey engine, Deborah. We'd have to be saving our pennies, I guess. Hope you don't need one too soon. But yeah, they're expensive. I mean, but it's when you look at the cost of replacing it and trying to get anything decent. I was just looking before this van came along. I just started looking, and boy, it's you know, you're looking at something like a few $1,000s. There's not much to choose from that doesn't need major work, and yeah, it runs great. It's got this oh, except for it needs thousands of dollars worth of work for this. Yeah, no, thank you. So, all right, well, we've been on here a long time tonight, so I should probably wind this up and get off. I've been almost an hour and a half now, so um, I appreciate everybody joining me tonight. It was fun as always. Uh, yes, Greg blessed me big time with his van. That is 100% true. Yeah. Linda's is the back of her eyelids are calling her. Exactly. And yes, Deborah, there was multiple parties involved in that all deserve credit. So, um, but yeah, I appreciate everybody joining me tonight and for this video. And Tuesday next week, same time. But we'll do Tuesday for a while so I can get some catch some t-ball games, which I'm sure will be a lot of fun. So, but thanks for joining me tonight, everybody, and we will see you next week on Tuesday. And I should hopefully have another video up um, on this channel this week. And what do we got coming up? Oh, we got something coming up on Thursday, tomorrow for Meander too. So hope you'll enjoy that one as well. So, well, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next week.